Have you ever attended a funeral or watched a movie scene with a burial and noticed someone saying coffin while another says casket and wondered, are they really the same thing? At first glance, it seems like just a different word, but the truth is, there's a real difference, and it goes beyond just vocabulary. One is a tapered, traditional box, the other a rectangular, polished showcase of craftsmanship. It might sound like a tiny detail, but these differences reflect centuries of design, culture, and even social status. And if you dig a little deeper, you'll find a fascinating history, from simple wooden boxes in medieval Europe to the elaborate caskets of today. So what really separates a coffin from a casket, and why does it even matter? Today, we're exploring the history, the design, and the subtle cultural meanings behind these two words that get tossed around far too casually. Right here on History of Simple Things. The story begins with coffins. The word coffin comes from the old French term coffin, meaning basket or chest. Its first known use in English dates back to the 14th century, and originally coffins were simple, handcrafted wooden boxes. The shape was practical, tapering at the head and foot, wider at the shoulders, just enough to fit the human body snugly. This not only minimized the amount of wood required, but also made them easier to carry. In medieval Europe, coffins were usually made from inexpensive, locally available timber, and their design reflected both economy and function over style. Caskets, in contrast, have a much later history. The term originally referred to small decorative boxes used for jewelry or valuables, coming from the French casse, meaning case. It wasn't until the 19th century, particularly in the United States, that the word casket began to describe burial boxes. Unlike the utilitarian coffin, caskets were designed to impress. They were rectangular, polished, and often featured decorative handles, plush interiors, and high-quality woods like mahogany, oak, or cherry. This change reflected shifting funeral customs in America, where public viewings and the presentation of dignity became increasingly important. Interestingly, while Europe continued to favor coffins in their traditional tapered shape, the U.S. embraced the rectangular casket. This divergence is largely cultural, but it also demonstrates how funerary practices are influenced by societal values, industrial advances, and even regional preferences. If you want to spot the difference between a coffin and a casket in seconds, it's all in the shape. A coffin is 6-sided or 8-sided, narrowing at the head and foot with the widest point at the shoulders. This iconic design is the one most people picture when thinking of historical or classic coffins. The tapered shape was functional, as it reduced wood usage and made transporting the deceased easier, especially in times before motorized hearses. A casket, however, is rectangular, with 4 straight sides and right-angled corners. This design is more modern and lends itself to elaborate interior designs, including split lids for viewings, cushioned linings, and decorative metalwork. The rectangular shape also made mass production possible during the industrial era, further cementing its popularity in the United States. Material choices also reflect this distinction. Traditional coffins were primarily wooden, often using local and inexpensive timber. Modern coffins may include metal options, but wood remains the most common. Caskets, on the other hand, are usually crafted from higher-end materials. Hardwood caskets with polished finishes or metal caskets with protective coatings became symbols of prestige, representing care, respect, and social status in funeral rituals. Coffins and caskets are also shaped by culture and geography. In Europe, especially the United Kingdom, coffins remain the standard. They're still widely used for traditional burials, often retaining the tapered, handcrafted look that harks back to centuries of history. In the U.S., caskets dominate funeral practices. The rectangular design, along with the luxurious interiors, aligns with American traditions of viewings, memorials, and funeral services designed to offer a sense of comfort and dignity to mourners. In other parts of the world, the terminology and preferences vary. In some countries, such as Australia and Canada, both terms are understood, but casket is increasingly used in commercial funeral services, reflecting American influence. Meanwhile, in Africa and parts of Asia, local materials and customs often dictate the design, sometimes blending traditional shapes with modern casket-style features. You might be wondering, does it really matter what word you use? In everyday conversation, probably not. But for those planning funerals, working in funeral services, or studying cultural history, the difference can be significant. Using the correct term shows respect for both tradition and the wishes of families. A coffin might signal simplicity or historical accuracy, while a casket could reflect modern tastes, comfort, and ceremonial presentation. Beyond terminology, the difference also illustrates broader social trends. Coffins reflect practicality and historical custom, while caskets embody industrialization, design innovation, and the evolving importance of public memorial rituals. Understanding these nuances gives us a window into how societies deal with death, honor the deceased, and express grief. So next time you hear someone say coffin or casket, you'll know they aren't just interchangeable words. A coffin is tapered, historically rooted, and functional. A casket is rectangular, polished, and often designed to impress. Both carry centuries of tradition, craftsmanship, and cultural meaning, but they also reveal how humanity's approach to death has evolved over time. It's fascinating to realize that something as simple as the shape of a box can tell us so much about history, culture, and human values. Whether you encounter a coffin in a European village or a casket at an American funeral home, each is a piece of living history, silently carrying stories of the past while serving a deeply personal role in the present. And that's what makes the distinction worth understanding, not just as a matter of words, but as a window into how we honor life, death, and memory. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.